Hello everyone, and welcome to another Dragons Evolved guide. So today we're checking out another one of the newer additions from Dragons Evolved, the second realm, the massive wandering LAO. So this creature, as model, is edited from Zaza's open source Sauropod Pack mod, so thank you that mod dev, Zaza, for open sourcing your assets. So in this guide, I will be showing you how to tame this creature and all of its abilities and what other functions you can use this creature for. So let's get on with how to tame the creature. So first things first, how to tame the LAO. So these guys are very picky eaters. They will only tame off of one food, which is the item I have here. Element Dust Kibble, which can be crafted using Element Dust and Kibble. And an important thing is that these creatures will only eat this kibble when tamed. They won't eat any other food. So in order to tame these guys, you just walk up and passive tame them. However, when you passively feed them, what will happen is a wave of corrupted creatures will spawn around you, and you'll have to play a sort of tower defense, where you have to protect the LAO from the corrupted creatures. Now, the waves will start off easy. It will be low tier corrupted creatures at first, but as the taming nears like the completion, you will gradually get less corrupted creatures spawning, but they will be much stronger. So the final wave is a bunch of corrupted gigas. Now you don't need to worry way too much about the LAO because they have a damage resistance to corrupted creatures that applies when tamed as well. They take 75% reduced damage from corrupted creatures. So as you can see here, it has 7,500 health. So that's actually more like 30,000 health if I'm mathing correctly when doing the tower defense raid. Now what's important to note is that other creatures will attack the LAO as well, and those can kind of spoil everything for you. Now when the LAO gets damaged, or if you die, taming doesn't reset. You can just keep coming back and doing it. It doesn't lose taming effectiveness, it doesn't do anything like that, but you have to make sure it doesn't die. Feeding the LAO every time you do a passively feed heals 10% of its maximum health, meaning that you can keep it alive, but you also don't want to allow it to take too much damage, or else it won't be able to heal enough. Another thing is that you can technically feed it again in, I believe it's a 1 minute interval, so even if you've cleared the wave under a minute somehow, you can't feed it again until a minute has passed. However, even if the wave hasn't finished, you can still feed it again. However, I wouldn't recommend doing this, because number one, you're just layering on the amount of creatures that you need to kill, and also, if you're progressing through the tame too quickly, you'll be spawning stronger and stronger creatures, which will make it difficult. Now, if you have additional creatures mod 2 installed, one creature I would recommend using is Pentaceratops. Both LAO and Pentaceratops spawn in the same places, which is Extinction, and the Pentaceratops from Shadowlos's mod, it deals increased damage to corrupted creatures, which is good because once the corrupted gigas start spawning in, they're going to be very tanky and hard to take down otherwise. You can actually hurt the LAO while you're taming it. Technically, it won't take damage, but you have a limited amount of hits before taming resets. It's 100 hits, and then the taming will reset. Every time you feed it, the amount of hits resets, and you might think 100 hits isn't a lot, but trust me, it's gonna rack up a bit. You won't do damage to it until you've hit the 100th hit, and you'll get a message telling you that the LAO does not like you hurting it. And right now, let's just Well, we need to leave render distance now because that just happened. Alright. walk up and... As you can see, a bunch of corrupted creatures here. As you see, it can handle itself pretty well in the earlier rounds. And as you can see, there's the message that says it doesn't like that you're injuring it. Which we aren't injuring it, by the way. And basically just repeat this until you tame it. The Wandering Lalong has its own saddle, which can be crafted and equipped here. Now the saddle is a combination of the Diplodocus and the Bronto saddle, which means you have the option of the Diplo's passenger seats, but you can also build structures on its back. Now onto its abilities. Left click while standing still and looking left or right will do a neck swipe, which has very high knockback. If you do the left while moving, it'll do a bite. This is the weakest attack, has a knockback as well, but it has a very fast rate of attack. If you look down and do left click, it will do a stomp depending on which way you look. This is very high knockback, high damage, but does cost stamina. Looking behind you and clicking left click does a back stomp. Right click will do a tail whip, depending on which direction you look. This deals high damage and has high knockback. C will do a huge stomp. This deals very high damage and launches creatures that are smaller than a Carno into the air and backwards. Left control does a roar. Aesthetic only, with no additional effects. Pressing Q will do an elemental corruption projectile barrage. If you look forward, it'll shoot it from its neck. This has a long cooldown, but if you look left or right, it'll swing it from its tail. Those projectiles are very special because they inflict a debuff which causes creatures to basically become a Giga. Basically, once a creature has been inflicted by this corruption stuff, they will get a buff that lasts 60 seconds. Or was it 30 seconds? I can't remember. During that time, they can take damage, which will build up their own damage, increasing the damage until it hits the maximum. Once it hits maximum, the creature that's inflicted will rage out for 30 seconds like a Giga, attacking its own teammates. It will still attack the Lalong, it's not mind control, but it basically becomes corrupted for 30 seconds and attacks everything. This makes Long excel in PvP, where you can basically make your opponent's Gigas, and well, if you play Talos, the ladder and that stuff, playing with Giants Vault or other modern creatures, and because creatures are not immune to that, there's like no immunities to that ability, that means Lalong can basically get away with just doing that. And this attack is actually pretty powerful on its own, so even if your goal isn't to corrupt the creature, this is still a very good area denial attack. And of course you can put a base on this creature. It's pretty fast for its size. It's much faster than the Bronto. Not as fast as a Diplo. Maybe comparable to a Titanosaur in speed. And you know, you can level it up and it's way tankier than a Bronto. It's a lot more capable of handling itself in a fight. And of course, it can also function as a pretty good base on Extinction to handle corrupted creatures, because it takes 75% reduced damage. It doesn't have an increased multiplier towards corrupted creatures, but it can still tank hits, and it does a lot of damage on its own already. So anyways, that's all there is to show for this massive behemoth, one of the largest creatures in Dragons Evolved. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time for another guide.